Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Homeschool Minnesota. It's so good to see you guys here today. My name is Dayle. I am your host for today. And I'm super excited because we are going to be talking about. I like to bring books. You all know that. I like to bring books and things to you all and resources. And I don't like to waste your time with a ton of things. And as homeschool moms, we have a little bit of a sickness anyway, and that we like a lot of books. Books are kind of a little bit of a crutch for we, not crutch. That's not at all what it is. It's actually it's a tool that we use, but boy, we can get overwhelmed with them. So I like to give you books that are practical and can be used in a lot of different ways. And today's book is no exception. We have Homegrown. It's been put together by Amber O'Neal Johnston. And I want to just introduce you to her. Amber, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited to talk with you about this. It's a great book. There's so much in it. But first, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm originally from Illinois, but I live in right outside Atlanta, Georgia, with my husband Scott. We have four kids. The girls are junior and freshman in high school, and the boys are in middle school and elementary school. So 16, 14, 12, and 10, just about. And they've all been homeschooled from the beginning.
Wow, busy mama. Your
Yes.
house is jumping.
Oh boy, late at night too. Well,
I'll
I'm
bet.
I'm an early bird, so this is it's been a rough season.
Yeah. And teenagers are so much fun because I don't know about you, but I always liked it that our house was the house that people liked it to congregate at. So I got to know their friends really well, but it was exhausting because you have to gotta have the snacks and you gotta have the stuff, you know. But it was great and I loved having teenagers. So I hope that's your experience too. I'm pretty sure it is.
Absolutely. We just had a bunch over here not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I had a whole taco
Oh
bar,
my
and the
word.
guacamole was gone in about 2 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, that was like 8 avocados. I don't know what just happened." So, yeah, it's fun. They like the fire pit outside and
So good.
s'mores and all the
Oh, that's
things.
so
Yeah.
fun. It's great. And that is one thing I saw throughout your book, Homegrown. I'm gonna put it up here again, guys. This is really it's a great book. It's a great book. It's a unique book, and we'll talk more about that. But the one thing I noticed, and I talked with Amber about it just for a brief second before we started recording, was her heart for community comes through in this and how she put it together and who she asked to be a part of it. And I love that because I feel like community is something that homeschooling is all about really, at the end of the day. So your book is like a collection of essays. Amber curated the book. She curated the collection of essays. She put it all together. You've got everybody from like Ginny Urich from A Thousand Hours Outside to Jennifer Pepito to Amber herself has written an essay for the book and all about different subjects and aspects of homeschooling. Can you tell us a little bit about why that's so unique and why you decided to do it that way?
Yeah, I think that one, I know that I believe that I would not be homeschooling now if it weren't for some of the people who played a role in speaking into me.
Yeah.
And not only were they weren't really telling me like, "Oh, use this curriculum for this or use that curriculum." It was more like, "You can do this. Let me tell you about how we do it.
Yes.
Maybe there's some things that we do that you would like." And I had tea in their homes and we would meet at parks, and while the kids played, they told me these things. And as I'm a conference speaker, writer, I'm traveling around the country, and I'm finding that everyone doesn't have that, and it's invaluable. And so I was trying to kind of recreate that at these table
Mhm.
conversations, these coffee table conversations or kitchen counter conversations where parents could hear from an array of people who homeschool and have experienced, we have moms in here who just had a baby right before she wrote her essay, and grandmothers who have been done homeschooling for years,
Yeah.
and everyone in between. And it was inspiring and encouraging to me, even as the editor, as I was reading these essays, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really it. This is the pulling together of wisdom from a hugely varied demographic,
Yeah.
where people can say, "This is really familiar to me," or they can get new ideas and think about things in homeschooling that they had never thought about before. And so that was kind of the goal behind the project.
Yeah, I love that. I love that there's a lot of different contributors. You have a lot of different people coming together. You have, homeschool dad, you have homeschool moms, you have people, like you said, from various age groups, different demographics. Why is that important in this book? And why is that important in homeschooling that there's different philosophies and different takes on different things? Why was that important to you to put that all in the book?
Well, I think that, we all know homeschooling is growing by leaps and bounds,
Mhm.
but we're not all the same. We're different in a lot of different ways. So the book, we have different socioeconomics. We have different geographies. Some of us live in the city, some live in the country, some are suburban. And we also have different ethnicities. I'm African American, but there are Latinos and Asian moms and dads, other different types of white people. They're not a monolith, you know what I mean? And so, why not have people from all those different areas working together on a single project in the homeschooling world? I never see that. And it's my heart for what I think that would be pleasing to the Lord if we were to do more of that, where we were to come together as a body and offer, help and assistance to other people who are considering homeschooling or who are doing it now and need inspiration. But I think also I would be lying if I didn't say it was for ourselves too. I think we each grow when we can come together and form bonds that maybe don't always come as naturally, but when we're intentional, we'll find a lot of joy in being together.
Yeah. I like that. I like a lot of different perspectives on something because it draws me out of my comfort zone and causes me to grow. If I hadn't done that in homeschooling, if I had just stuck with what I originally started with, it would have been a disaster. I mean, I just,
Yeah.
I was challenged by somebody to think outside the box a little bit, and that's where I found what worked for us. And if I hadn't
Yeah.
listened to her, I think that it would have been I wouldn't have lasted. There's no way. My kids I wouldn't have continued homeschooling all the way through. There's no way I would have been
Yeah.
able to do it. It wouldn't have been good for them or me or our dynamic as a family. So, yeah, I think it's good to hear from a lot of different people. And the Bible tells us that to have like a variety of counselors that speak into our
Yeah.
lives. And I like that. And I was thinking about how I like books where everything is like it's a one-stop shop. So you in this book, your contributors, they talk about a lot of different things that have to do with homeschooling, like just home in general. And then education philosophies and all these different things. How did you come up with the topics and things that you wanted to make sure you covered? And how did you pick the contributors that you chose to be a part of it?
So it's funny, the contributors, that was easier. I chose the people that I wanted to hear from
Yeah.
myself. As a homeschool mom, I looked ahead of me, people who have already walked this path, whose voices I tend to lean on as mentors. And then I looked to my peer group to see who am I walking step in step with that I tend to want to hear from, and who do I call when I'm struggling
Mm.
or when I've kind of met a roadblock. And then I thought about who's coming up behind me and leading the way with their peers. And I tried to get a cross section of those things. So that part was, a little bit easier. In terms of the topics, believe it or not, I asked each person to write what was on their hearts. And
Wow.
I did not dictate the topics. So I did give them kind of like some themes, which were ended up being kind of the sections of the
Yeah.
book. There's a section on relationships and a section on that. But I just asked them to, they didn't know, nobody knew which section they were writing for. I put those all together at the end and they fell into a natural cadence. So I did not know what people were necessarily going to write about until they finished. And I think that that is part of the power of this book. So it's not,
Wow.
I edited it, but I didn't force any of it and I didn't try to create a narrative of any kind. It's just a vulnerable, honest view of each person's place and time.
It's interesting you say that because I would not have thought that. Because the way that it comes together, that's just so God, isn't it? How he does things,
Yeah.
how he just wants, this is the message I want for this time, for this generation. I'm gonna put it all together in one book, and I'm going to say, and I'm gonna lay it on each person's heart what it is I want to say. And then it feels like you all contributed in a room together and everybody said, okay, I'll cover this part or I'll cover that. Oh, I don't want to. But the fact that you did it the way you did it just blows my mind because when you all get this book and you read it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It really feels like it was so cohesive. It really
Yeah.
is very cohesive and it
It was
flows.
It was amazing the way it worked out. You think about like just something basic like relationships.
Yeah.
Well, somebody you say, "Oh no, they might all write the same thing." Nope, somebody wrote about the relationships between the parent and child. Somebody else wrote about using extended family as part of your
Yeah.
homeschool. Somebody else talked about the neighbors, the community, the whole town is helping to homeschool their kids. And so, it's the way it works, right? The Holy
Wow.
Spirit speaks to each of us individually and we all get something different from where we are based on our experiences and who we are and where we are, what season we're experiencing in this moment. So it really was beautiful
Yeah.
the way it came together.
I love that. So how does your book it speaks to all different types of homeschoolers. Somebody who's been doing it for a while, they'll be so encouraged and they'll get new ideas and new thoughts. And for those of us who have done it for a while, we all know that we get into our little rut and we need it to feel fresh. And I feel like in your book, there's ideas that'll make things for those of us who have homeschooled for a long time, it'll bring back that freshness. But then
Mhm.
there's that new homeschooler who's like overwhelmed and is like, I don't even know where to begin. This is too much. I don't know what I was thinking. And then there's that mom or dad that is sitting there going, can I do this? Is this something that can I actually pull my kids out of school, bring them home and homeschool them? And I
Mhm.
think this book addresses all of it.
Mm.
Can you talk about how does it address, like, each individual person
Yeah.
in their area and where they are in homeschooling?
Yeah, I think in a few different ways. One, there's something here that goes through the whole life cycle of homeschooling. You have some essays that are talking about the enthusiasm and the bright light in which they started. And then there are some essays that are like, oh, it started like a bright light, but these middle schoolers about to take me out, you know? Or, how do I shift from being mom in control of all things to being more of a guide and a coach for my high
Yeah.
schoolers? And what does that look like? So, right there, you have someone speaking into the life cycle. If you want to call it that, of homeschooling. But then also, you have this idea that, I have told people before, some of my friends who don't homeschool, I'm like, as a homeschooler, I'm not immune to the things that you experience in life. My children are not immune
No.
to the things that you see happening. And so there are essays that talk about that, about what happens when mental health is taking a hit and
Yeah.
things are not going well. And what happens when you experience devastation and loss
Mhm,
amid homeschooling.
mhm.
So life doesn't start, life's valleys don't skip over homeschoolers.
No.
And so I think that those are the types of things where it's like, life is full of valleys and mountains, and it's like you might be on the mountain, but this can help prepare you for a future valley or help you to how to come alongside someone else who's in their valley. And I've experienced both, right? I've had both seasons where I'm like, I am jamming. I am the homeschooler extraordinaire. Life is easy. It's good. We're rocking. And then I've been down in the valley where, we've had extended family that we've had to help. And my sister had breast cancer. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. Like we were missing more school than we
Wow.
were doing at chemo and radiation and all of that. So I understand that, like, it's not always a bed of
Yeah.
roses. And I think that's part of the value of this book. No one's sitting here saying, oh, if you do this thing, you won't ever have another problem in the world because it's the best thing ever,
Yeah.
but rather saying, like, it's really hard. And also, it's the best decision that we've made. And I think that is kind of a bit of a different message than what a lot of us have shared. A lot of the
Yeah.
people and contributors have written other books, myself included. So we all have our own deep passions in different areas. And some of that's brought to the table here in Homegrown, but some of that in some ways is stripped away to say, yeah, we're into this, I'm into this, I'm passionate about this, but at the end of the day, I'm a homeschooling parent. I
Mhm.
love my children and want the best for them, and this is what that vision looks like,
Yeah.
stripped down for me.
That's so good. We talked a little bit about community. Can you talk a little bit about what role community plays in homeschooling? Like, why is that important?
So it's invaluable. I run a local community here, and sometimes communities online I know can be invaluable for people too who
Yeah.
don't necessarily have that. But my local community is 10 years old. And so my children literally have been raised up with this group of people. That's who they're doing life with.
That's so good.
It's important for friendships, of course, for socialization, for mom, dad, and the kids in our case. But also, to be honest, it's also a first line of defense. When you're in your house a lot with just your kids, sometimes things can start to you might not realize necessarily when you need help.
Mm.
And so I feel like my community, another thing we offer each other is where I can look you in the eyes and be like, mm-mm, you're not okay,
Yeah.
actually. We can stop. We can pray together. I can help you get resources. I can Watch your kids for a few hours for you to just go and take a nap, or I can come and help you clean, or
Mhm.
whatever it is we can do for each other. When I had a devastating health crisis a few years ago, and these are the people who fed my husband and my kids when I
Wow.
literally could not move. And so, it's for the good times, but you need that community also so that you're not walking this path alone.
Right.
We're actually designed to need each other.
Mhm.
And so I think that it's one of the most invaluable aspects of successful homeschooling is community.
Absolutely. So what is missing from homeschool community today?
Well, I think that in some ways, I would like to see more cheering each other on and more of an understanding. I always tell people, don't make a rule out of your own circumstance. So we
Yeah.
all have these certain things we're so passionate about, like my family. We're Charlotte Mason family, and I love
Yes, I
Charlotte
love
Mason.
her.
It's like,
That was me
let's do
too.
it. But then when I meet someone else and they're like, "Ah, we're all Montessori," or "We're just very traditional,"
Mhm.
I think what I want I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on team you." Whatever
Absolutely.
that is that you came up with that is working for your family, that you feel enthusiastic about, I love that.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that a little bit more than, I wouldn't do it that way if I were you, or
Yes.
that's not really the best way for children to learn that subject or anything like that. So I think coming and even if you think someone is making a mistake, the way that you help them is to come alongside them as a friend, not to ridicule or criticize.
Mhm.
That doesn't work. So I would love to see that. I would love to see more in-person community opportunities for people, although I'm so thankful for online because there's a ton of value in that.
Yeah.
But you do kind of sometimes miss that feeling in the room, if that makes sense. And so people coming and not just relying on social media
Right.
or online connections, but really doing the work. And it is work,
Yep.
right? To like
Yes.
get dressed and leave the
It's
house.
not easy. You gotta put those pajama
No.
pants in the drawer and take some jeans out.
Yes, it's so true. It's funny because my youngest son will be like, "Why are you dressed up?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I put on
Whoa.
pants." Like, you know,
I
I'm like, if he
showered.
considers this, yeah. I said, "Oh goodness, what have I done here?" And I don't want to gloss over that fact of how hard it is. And I'll be the first to tell you, every time we leave the house to go do something with our homeschool group, the group I founded and that I run, I never want to go. I
Yeah.
never want to go. In my heart, I never feel like going,
Yeah.
but I make myself go, and I'm
Always
always
glad.
glad that I did. So sometimes we just have to move out of our own way and say that even if I don't feel
Mhm.
like doing this, I know this is a good thing to do and I'm going to do it anyway.
So good. I think that the other thing I like to tell people is, your kids need to hear from a lot of people and not just you. It's
Mm,
important to them to, especially as they get older, to hear other people teach them and other people mentor them and other people bring them, into life with them so that they can see that, how the kingdom works, especially the kingdom of God, when we're doing that, but even just how life works, that not everybody does it the same way mom and dad does it, and that's okay. You
yeah.
can actually have your life built the way that you feel God is leading you to do that. And
I think that's great. No, I think that's so important. I agree with you. And I also think it gives your kids another outlet of someone else to talk to.
yeah.
So, a lot of us are transplants,
Mhm.
especially here where I live. No one's from here. But if you're not from a place, then your aunts and your grandmother and all that might not be nearby
Right.
when you need someone to talk to, or your uncle or your grandpa or whoever. Or I grew up with a church family, from birth, the same people. So I had all these adults that I could go to when I
Yeah.
kind of needed a different perspective. And so recreating that has to be really intentional for
Yeah.
those of us who are not in communities where we grew up or near family, extended family. And I've seen that come together even for my own kids. And this is like the first time I saw it. My oldest daughter, I really love like long dresses for little girls with leggings underneath them and like a little empire waist. And so that's how I always used to dress my girls. But as my oldest started getting older, she was like, I don't want to look like Little House on the Prairie every day. I don't like these
What is wrong
clothes, you
with
know?
that?
Yeah, she was like, "This looks crazy," and I'm like, "It's so cute." And I was like, "Well, I buy the clothes," and I
Yeah.
didn't think she was old enough to be making those decisions, so we were clashing.
Yeah.
And so one day we get to a homeschool event, and as soon as she walks in the room, she runs up to one of my closest friends, and she starts telling on me. She was like, "My mom won't let me choose any of my clothes. She keeps having me dress up like Little House on the Prairie." She kept saying that, and she was like, "I'm so embarrassed. I don't wanna wear this. She won't let me be myself,"
Oh.
whatever. And so I kind of thought it was funny. At first, I was just like, "Oh gosh, okay, go tell on me." But then afterwards, my friend came over and she's like, "Hey." She was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I like those clothes and I pay for them and she looks cute in them and they look sweet and innocent and I like it."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, but she doesn't." And she was
Yeah.
like, "What? You're doing a control battle thing for no reason?"
Mhm.
She was like, "She doesn't want to dress like that anymore. Like you are holding on tightly." Blah blah blah. She was talking about a relationship. Like it got very serious very quickly and
Wow.
appropriately so.
Yeah.
And you know what? I took my daughter shopping and we started getting new things and she's now a major thrifter. She can blow through a thrift store like nobody's business and
That's
she has her
amazing.
own little style and everything, but it really did take a third party,
Yeah.
you know? And the fact that she had a relationship with other people
Mm.
that when I wasn't listening well, that she could go to, that came from years of community.
Yeah, people who love
So
you,
I think
people
that
who love her.
yes.
Yeah, so good. That's so good. Yeah, I think community makes or breaks a homeschool in a lot of ways. I think it
Yeah.
does. People know you as the heritage mom. That was one thing.
Yeah.
I was on your website, and I love your website, by the way. What amazing resources and things you have there. And I'm going to link it. Everything is linked.
Thank
You
you.
all know this in the description of the podcast, so you can do it. Tell us a little bit about Heritage Mom.
So Heritage Mom came out of the idea that I was homeschooling my kids. They were very young, like 6, 4, 2, 1, or maybe I was pregnant, and we were rocking and rolling. We were doing all the things, looking at art, reading poetry, reading great literature, learning history, listening to music, and hiking and doing all that. But at some point, my oldest became aware of the fact that, how come none of the people we ever study or talk about or look at or read about are ever like us?
Yeah.
And she didn't quite have the vocabulary. Well, she used a lot of words, but essentially what she's saying is they're kind of like us. And now I know she meant we're all Americans. She's like, but they don't ever look like us. And she's like, people like us aren't really worth studying there because we didn't
Oh,
do anything that was important. And that broke my
that's
heart.
so wrong.
And I talk about that in my first book in more detail, but essentially that's the conclusion she came to. And I realized like, oh my gosh, like that I'm really messing something up here and I don't know how to fix it because I can only give what I had
Yep.
and that's all I had inside of me because that's the same thing that I was feeling as a child and that's what I had learned. And so I just prayed about it and I just asked God to show me like what to do and like I'm like give me a new brain cuz how can I teach you something I don't know
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
And what I received from that was the idea of let's learn together.
Yeah.
And so we started reading biographies and including additional literature and expanding our ideas of poets to listen to and
Mhm.
expanding the art. So we didn't do away with any of the things that we were doing because they were great,
Yeah.
but we expanded
I love
and
it.
we started including more voices and more things and the kids loved it. And my daughter was like, this is what I'm talking about, and
So
I
good.
was learning so much and I felt I really saw myself I started seeing myself differently
Yeah.
and I didn't even know I needed that kind of healing as an adult. So that is how I became the heritage mom, where I started telling people like it's a beautiful thing to dig into your heritage, whatever it is, and we're all different.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean like I think this is better than somebody else's. No,
Mm.
it means that I think that my story is just as important as everyone else's and that we can learn from each other. And so that's kind of how it took off. And I received an overwhelming response because I think so many people can identify with that, not just ethnically, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but
Yes.
also moms who have kids who learn differently,
Mhm.
moms who have kids who look different, people who feel like they don't fit in some other kind of
Yeah.
way. And they all were able to relate to this idea that, hey, what if my difference is kind of part of my superpower? And if I'm humble and open handed and I'm as interested in knowing other people as I am and knowing my own stories, like what would the world look like? And
Yeah.
that's kind of what my work has been rooted in ever since.
I think it's really a big part of identity for you to know where you come from and to understand your story and your family story and the story of the people who came before you. So, if you're German or if you're African American or Caribbean American or Asian American or whatever you are, embracing that gives your children a sense of identity that God created them that way. He made us all so different because he's a wonderful God with a lot of different ways of just expressing his creativity and the beauty of all of us is just a wonderful thing. And I love of your website. I'm just going to say I spent some time in there. I'm like, "Oh, I love this. I wish I would have known about this when I was homeschooling." There wasn't anything like that when I was homeschooling my kids.
No.
I had to kind of find it myself. Like, it was hard to find something on Native Americans. I
Yes.
just wanted to really dig into Native American history with my kids. And we lived in Central America. So the Mayans and the Incas and the Aztecs, they didn't make them look like they were just warriors who were just killing everybody, but they had scientific things and they did was, and so we got a really unique perspective because we lived where the Mayans lived. And so we got to really dig into that, which was cool. But I just think about how important it is. Like, we want to give our kids a sense of who God created them to be and that he
Mm.
doesn't make mistakes. And what a better way to do that than to dig into your heritage in a godly way that just makes you realize, oh, I can be proud of who I am and God made me this
Yes.
way. And I love that. And so, yeah, I encourage you all. First of all, you got to get the book. Second of all, check out Heritage Mom. It's just really, really good. So just to wrap things up, can you give us an encouragement to families who are listening, who are thinking about homeschooling, or those new moms who are like, this is overwhelming. This is my second year and I really thought it was going to be better, but we're starting off and it's just not better. That was
Mm.
me. My first year was awful. My second year was even worse. And about 3 months in, I was like, I'm done,
Wow.
but
Hey, that's real, right?
it
So,
was awful.
I would say that when, like anything else,
Mhm.
you learn to improve in your
Yeah.
homeschooling vibe, right?
Yep.
It gets easier in some ways over time as you build confidence and you get to know more about your options
Yeah.
and choices. And so today is not forever.
Yes.
That's the first thing that I would say. And the other thing I would say is look more at what you have to offer your
Mm.
children and your homeschool. I mean, there are all these other things and people making all of this and telling you this and doing that, but what is unique about you? What do you know about? What are you passionate about? What can you guys learn together? What do you bring to the table? And that's something that no one else can do for your children. You are their parent, and you can help them grow in ways that no one else will be able to. You are unique and you're in the perfect place. And so work on the confidence, pray a lot, surround yourself with community, and trust that today is not forever
Mhm.
and that it's going to continue to change as you go.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're
So,
welcome.
Amber, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule, homeschooling 4 children, and writing books, and all the things to talk with us today. I really do appreciate it. And again, I want to encourage you guys. This book, and we're going to link to it, but it just came out in August, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's new, and it'd be great for, like, you're giving to a family who's thinking about homeschooling, or giving to that mom who needs that encouragement, giving to a mom who's done it for a while and just needs something to kind of keep them going and give them something new vision. And so it'd be awesome in your co-op for your small group, when you have mom time. I do this a lot. I know I give you guys a lot of books for that, but you need it because you have co-op for quite a few years in your life. Here's another one that would be great for you to read together and talk through together and discuss and to keep each other accountable and maybe just see how it applies to you. Anyways, I just want you guys to just enjoy it. Find the book. The links will be in the description of this podcast. And we just want to thank Amber for coming and being a part of our conversation today. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thanks for having me. I look forward to being back again.
Yeah, and we will have you back because I have a couple more things I want to talk to you about too. So, just for those of you who are listeners, thank you so much for following us. We pray for you. We at MÂCHÉ, Homeschool Minnesota MÂCHÉ, pray for you. We care about you. You don't have to be a homeschooler or from Minnesota. If you are a homeschooler from another state and you don't have like a connection with your state org, write to us and we'll get you connected to your state org because it's important. Yeah, and if you don't have one, we'll be your state org for a little while and be that support for you because we believe in you. We believe in your ability to homeschool your children. So thank you guys so much for listening. Like, subscribe, and share. If you like this conversation, go ahead and share it with somebody else. And thanks again, Amber, for being a part of it. And we'll see you guys all next time.